Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the recording for today. And of course, we have been having some very interesting market movements over the last couple of weeks. And I thought I will cover this today because I think it's becoming a little important now. I think we also have a few questions. Now, this is a chart of Bank Nifty. And let's just zoom in a little more here. So, what you will notice is that post the lows, after the collapse that we saw, if you see it's recovered, but this was the time between 2021 2022 when a lot of stocks were going up and bank nifty wasn't. So bank nifty overall was lagging. The banking sector, the financial sector was lagging. Now it's just broken above, and if you notice here, it is trading at the above the all-time highs. The interesting thing is that if you see the highs made here on this the week ending Monday 21st in November, you will notice that it's not really closed above that, and that is a period when the market has actually been doing okay. So what it makes me look like at the moment is that maybe the momentum is sort of starting to slow. Now let's just look at the daily time frame of this. So let's just go to the daily time frame and have a look at that. Now if you see the oscillators, you see this is extremely overbought, these oscillators. And if we just go back in time, you know, and whenever the oscillators have peaked so far up, like here, if you go back, you see this here. Similarly, every time you tend to get some sort of a you tend to get some sort of a small top, and if I just zoom in a little bit more, you will realize what I'm saying. If you see here the market, 30,000, it went down all the way to 28,000. Similar over here, something similar happened here when the market corrected again here, and now again it's extremely overbought. Now, of course, this is probability. This is not certainty. So there's every chance that the market continues to rally up. I just feel the chance of that continuing to happen without a correction is not very high. So, in my view, while overall, if I were to say from a long term perspective, that is, if you go back and you see that there's been a new all time high breakout, you will say that's bullish. But I think what's going to happen in the short term is maybe some mean reversion and some consolidation could take place. And I think this place where that will happen probably are the PSU banks, because that's where we have seen a very strong rally come through. And just going into the markets and looking at what has happened previously, you'll see here that while the market rallied and continued to rally higher, once it got extremely overbought, you see that it went into consolidation. Of course, there was a small correction, but you also see that it spent a fair amount of time consolidating the gains. Something similar happens here, breaks out and then consolidates for some more time. And you can see here, well, here it just ended up making the absolute top and correcting. So I don't feel that there's a top. I'll just repeat this again. You can see this, what is happening out here. It makes a high and then again corrects. Let's just zoom in out here. If you see here, makes a high. There's a small consolidation. You see again, when it goes into overbought territory, you get a long consolidation for several months. So this is something that we have observed repeatedly over the period of time, and I don't think it's going to change immediately. Of course, there are some cases where it doesn't consolidate or doesn't correct as much. Like probably here, it just consolidates a bit, doesn't rally, but no real correction. Just you can probably say from here to here, fair amount of bullish momentum before it finally went up. So while we're not observing any divergences, I think what we're observing at the moment is an extremely overbought market. Now, this is a good sign in the sense that there's a lot of momentum on the upside. I'm just cautioning that, maybe if you're entering now, just make sure you have some patience. Don't expect a very sharp rally. And yeah, if it breaks out this high at 43,480, probably we will continue to see some more rally. But keep in mind that we have the oscillators extremely overbought. So from a technical perspective, overbought oscillators, previously what it has done on several occasions is given some consolidation or correction. So that is something everybody needs to keep in mind. Now let's look at the chart of Nifty. And I think this is where you will find it a little more instructive. If you see this top here and you see the top here, you will notice that the market corrects after that. Now over here, what's happened is that while the market has made here, if you see, the market is making a new high. But if you see the momentum oscillators, they are not making a new high. If I were to now draw a line I'll draw a line something like this. Now this is called a negative divergence in technical analysis. According to the principles of technical analysis, a negative divergence tends to be bearish in nature. Now, if I were to look at the current market scenario, if you just zoom in a little bit here, you will notice that we have gotten 3 bearish days overall, and this is coming at the highs. Again, what I'm trying to point out here is that while the momentum is very good, and you can see previously also, while the momentum is good, but when the market gets extremely overbought, the probability of a mean reversion continues to go higher. Now remember, I'm not trying to give investment advice here. It's just the observation that when the market gets so far stretched on the upside, the probability of a mean reversion tends to start going up. And I feel that is the kind of environment that we are possibly in at the moment. So if you are, if you're looking at your portfolio at the moment, this is something that you should keep in mind while making a decision, that we are looking at an environment where the divergence is occurring. We are looking at a possibility that the current market could correct or go into consolidation. And based on what has happened in the past, the probability of that is quite high. So this is something that we all should keep in mind. We have had a very good rally over the last month or so, and that can sometimes make investors, it can make them a little complacent. And also there's an urgency to buy. And if you look at the current environment, I think that from the technical perspective, that urgency to buy, I don't think is justified here at the moment. So now that we have seen the Nifty, the one thing that has been impacting the markets globally has been the dollar index. So next we're going to look at that. So this is the dollar index. And if we just zoom out, everybody can see a very sharp rally that we got in dollar. And you can see from here onwards, dollar has been in a very sharp rally. Now, if we just zoom in a little bit more, what we will realize here is that post this level getting broken, a small sort of a top, and you can see how the oscillators are getting extremely overbought. And another thing you will notice is that while here on the higher momentum and on the highs, you're getting the oscillators being overbought. This wasn't happening here. Though markets, or what you can see here, the dollar index made a new high. We didn't really get a new high in the momentum. The momentum continued to stall. So that was an example of why we are looking at, why we're probably expecting some sort of a correction. This is something I had spoken about earlier as well, that from a technical analysis perspective, whenever this is happening, this is something which is a sign of a bearish divergence, something that we're seeing in Nifty now. I'm not implying that Nifty is going to fall as much. It's just that the probability of something like this starts to go higher. The interesting thing now is that if you see the oscillator, you will see the oscillator is below the green line here. Now the green line is an example of the market being stretched too far on the downside. And when that is happening, I think the probability of some sort of a bounce goes up. Also, if you just go back, you will see that there is some support out here. Now, combining both of this, combining the bearish setup that we are seeing technically on Nifty, and I wouldn't say bullish setup, but a setup where a bounce is possible in dollar index. So looking at both of that, if you see here, this is at this point, you can see it's trading below this green line. And whenever that is happening, the probability of a bounce or a mean reversion goes higher. So I think there's every possibility that we get some sort of a bounce in dollar index, and especially considering the fact that these points, these points out here are there to support. You can see the price line here and this level here. As you can see, it's very close. The fact that these are also going to support the dollar index, there's a possibility that we get a bounce. And anytime you get a bounce in dollar index, that is sort of bearish for the rest of the asset classes. So basically what is happening here is, any asset class which is pegged to the dollar, that is going to start to, become cheaper compared to the dollar itself, because dollar is going up. So when that is happening, all asset classes will correct. All asset classes will be under pressure. And we all saw when the market was rallying up at this point, we also what the when dollar index was going up like this, all the markets were struggling. So if you get a sharp bounce in dollar index, that could be something that really can mess the party up. But seasonally, December tends to be strong. So we have a couple of factors here: seasonality, and we also have the technical setup of the market. I would actually again, this is not investment advice, but looking at the markets, and from experience, there's a fair chance that we get some consolidation on the Indian markets and we get some sort of a bounce on the dollar index. It might not be very long. It might only be for a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, but I think that that is a possibility. And then once that happens, then I guess an investor should evaluate his strategies post that. So that will be it for today. Thank you for watching.